welcome back. This is episode 15 with the Galactic historian, Andrew Bartzis. What a great last name.
Thank you. It's Greek.
It's Greek.
100% Greek.
100% Greek.
Yep. Dad from Corinth, mother from Patras.
Do you speak Greek?
No. That wasn't a primary thing in my family at that point in time, doing the Greek classes. Though I was an altar boy for St. Constantine and Helen in Cleveland, Ohio.
So you were raised here, but your parents came from Greece? Or?
They were both born in Greece during the war, correct?
So they're fluent in Greek?
English, in Greek, yes.
In Greek, both. You can't channel that from the Akashic record?
I can't translate it. It's different. Human 3D languages are so different. They're designed to limit. Even the Greek language is designed to limit, though the ancient Greek isn't, because it has so many other symbologies behind it. But many of those teachings have been lost, so the record doesn't truly give the inspiration to speak it unless you've had a past life with it. I've had other past lives in Greek. The languages that I function with are more on a soul level or a galactic level.
Mm-hmm. So you don't speak in tongues?
Well, I mean, that's one person's definition of it, but you've heard me speak many times. So
is that soul language, or?
It could be a species-identified language, but I'm speaking it, and my throat chakra is able to telepathically translate it, so it's auditory.
So if I asked you to identify this, what would it be in that language?
Shio diri katata puba nika shiuna ika pata puka na che o te ke u ushnehe ika mahaka hu.
In English, that would be what?
This stone is a dreamstone, and it has an energy field, and I was counting the different numbers, and then describing that certain points create a bigger energy field.
A dreamstone, what is that?
This particular stone, if you look at it, we got it here in Mount Shasta. It is a dreamstone. It's a crystal that came from a meteorite, and these crystals grew inside the meteorite under pressure, and when the meteorite crashed here, it left giant rock samples, and these survived the crash. Or they're seeded here from another world deep into the ground, which is frequent. We get people seeding crystalline structures in the ground, encased in a local bubble of reality that is the old planet that it came from. So other things like that can be naturally manufactured.
So you've talked quite a bit about dream times in our past episodes. This crystal then brings a resonance that allows people to maintain dream access? Or
it aids dream access because of the points. Okay, you got all this creates an omnidirectional field.
So not just one, but the way they all work together.
Create an omnidirectional
as a
field.
Community that
correct. And then each individual has an omnidirectional field that ultimately determines how big and how wide the other is. So if I touch this crystal, I change the omnidirectional field. If I touch this one, where I go like this, I change the omnidirectional field. If you were to put this on your heart and try to go to sleep, the omnidirectional field of your heart is changed by the omnidirectional field of this. Okay, and as a dream, on a dream level, how do I put this? Your intentions take you to the dream source you're doing. This has the out-of-world experience, the separate of the matrix, so it makes it very easy, or a simpler process to tune into the earth consciousness of dream, because that's where we dream, in earth consciousness.
So we were going to talk about discernment this episode, but you have brought up a really interesting question, and that is, what's the difference between dream time or a dream reality and the astral planes?
Big difference. Very, very big difference. In the astral planes, you have a lot more negativity that can exist there. In the dreamtime realms that are ancestral realms, there is no negativity. They're there out of true love. The astral cities have boundaries in them that allow true love to exist there. And then there are wild zones around it where there are no rules. When you set up something in the astral world as a function, like the astral or etheric satellites, the satellite grids, they're physically not seen, but they're on the spiritual side, and they have a local reality bubble around them that keeps them protected, and then there's blank spaces of no protection. So entities can free roam there. Think of that as the most outer layer of Earth's magnetic sphere. And then the astral layer is that first 20 miles of it. So whatever can exist within the space between atoms is in the astral world there.
So it's like the Wild West
Yes.
in the astral planes, whereas the dream realities.
Very focused, very loving, and part of Earth's sentience.
So if I had you talked about having soul groups, or actually, so dream realities relate to a planet, or to groups, or both?
Groups who create places inside a planet's field of energy that's dedicated for dream time.
So it's another creative space
Yes.
that a soul group would create that they could decide the rules with.
Correct.
Could they be horrific places with a soul group that had, quote, fallen or was very dark?
That's a really good question. In the old days, there were negative places in the dream realm that served a purpose for dealing with the destructions of local realities, because it was easy to snatch someone in a local reality you were about to conquer and bring them into this horrible realm and torture and abuse them there, and then not have to get the karma for it. So many of those were taken out in about the 600 AD mark, where there trillions of Dreamtime warriors just ascended onto Earth's astral realm and Dreamtime realm and just basically got out the weed whacker and started clearing all the past and putting the lights up.
Okay, so now are all dream realities, is there a rule they have to be in love and light?
No, not all love and light. Some are education realms, so the rules are different, and you have to go through the experience, even though the experience isn't ultimately going to harm you.
Like a school of hard knocks?
Correct.
And so are these dream realities something that I create, or ones that I am given?
Well, in the ancestral realms, your ancestors were the original consciousness explorers, and they are the ones that set up the original space, even though they may not even be living on Earth and any of their pieces parts may be completely somewhere else. They set up the space, and Earth holds the space for that DNA lineage. Your DNA gives you the key to the door to get in.
Unique to this body, or to my
Your
progression, my soul?
Your soul family and ancestors of soul family. So anybody that's been in a DNA lineage of your soul families may choose 6 DNA lineages, 12, 22, but all of that number would be access to their ancestral realm. In dream time. Correct.
So my soul lineage, and that would be all lives that were lived by avatars of my soul and the group of souls, quote, called the soul family.
Correct.
And how many are in a soul family?
It greatly differs. You can have a soul family of 2 until they decide to have a lineage.
Does it always start with 1?
No, it always starts with 2.
Is that
You
like
have
a
to have
twin
an
flame?
elder.
Okay.
Elder. Those are the elders. The twin flame has been mistaken. We talked about that with Lance too. That the love and light community has really mistaken its actual purpose.
It's not a split of a soul when
No.
that's misinformation.
A soul, no, it's misunderstood.
Oh.
A soul can split itself in 2, incarnate on a planet, and then come together and have a child, and then that child creates the soul lineage with the 2 parts of itself as the elder. This is where the love and light industry made their mistake. That's your twin flame, yes, and it's a male and female, but that's not what the vast majorities of soul families are made of. That's extremely rare that some entity breeds with itself to bring another piece out like that. That's something that the Cabal does through forced incarnation. Okay? On the other side, when two souls get together and saying, I'm ending all soul contracts with other soul families, and I'm starting my very own, all of those other contracts are ended, and then those 2 come together and create a contract to make a soul family with a theme.
Like a partnership.
Like a partnership, yeah. And they're the elders, they are the starting elders of that. And whoever they allow to incarnate into that soul family through whatever DNA lineages they choose are a part of that theme that creates lineage, that creates history, that creates an impact into reality.
So it's kind of like forming a company. Some are not-for-profit, some are for-profit.
Yep, it can be broken down that way.
And the multidimensional beings are more of the for-profit,
Correct.
whereas most others are not-for-profit.
Yep, for service for others.
Service for others. So, what's the range of soul group sizes that are here on Earth?
A lot of them have been broken down into groups of 8, 12, 16. There are quite a few out there with several hundred, and then a few out there with thousands.
Is that an old group when you say 1,000?
Not necessarily old. You could have a lucky young soul that just got into the soul family because there was an issue, and they have it. And then on other situations, they could be very, very, very old, and have virtually nothing.
This is a fascinating concept. So it's like a club.
Yep.
And the club may recruit new members
Mm-hmm.
if they need to. So a free agent, so to speak. Or
Yep.
if there's one or two and they decide they want to join with the other club,
Mhm.
the soul group. And the soul group grows based on, how do they grow? By recruiting the members?
Expansion of consciousness within the theme.
Is that the monad,
That would be
dyad?
like the monad, yes, if you're the 7 ray readers, the first 3, yes.
So it
Ray
would,
1, Ray 2, Ray 3, yeah.
So the soul then is splitting into multiple aspects of itself?
Correct.
Okay, so that when you have an 8, that's 8 different versions, or let's say 1 divided into 8, so they have 8 times the ability to experience and grow.
Correct.
And so splitting into 8, 13 really is not important, because theoretically the 1 could do the same work.
Correct.
But with having more avatars, well, I'm just making it,
Mhm.
so as you have more souls, then theoretically you could have more avatars?
Correct. Avatars within your soul family lineage that serve purpose to the lineage, like those that hold spiritual cords of equity, where let's say the 2 elders are going to go out on a consciousness exploration adventure and going to be gone 10,000 years. You would set up many people within the soul family would set up multiple aspects to be an oversoul seer, and one that can read the contracts from the very beginning of the theme and use the earth sentience as the ultimate equity to determine if the theme has been broken, or if the particular situation of contract removal is valid, or is been written with scams behind it.
So if I'm tracking this, a couple members of the soul group go out on a journey and they're not going to come back for some time.
Mhm.
And they're measured on their success based on these contracts they've agreed to. And those contracts are with the soul group or with God, or who are the contracts with?
The soul family.
Oh, so they're saying if you go out and achieve your mission, your hero's journey, so to speak,
Mhm.
and you come back, then you'll receive.
More energy from the whole.
And who's the whole?
The whole soul family that's expanding through their highest consciousness. It also applies when the whole soul family's on Earth. At times, only 1 or 2 members of the soul family can fully access their higher consciousness,
Mm-hmm.
and then they can share that experience with the other soul family. And in the situation that we're in, the system of domination control totally separated us on the soul family level, so we don't have that completion. So when soul families come together, there's this rapid raise of consciousness because you're all fully sharing at that moment, even though you're subconsciously doing it.
Mm-hmm.
And as soul family grows apart, one may be in high consciousness and can just share that with the others.
Mm-hmm.
Or if you have 2 doing it, you share with the others. The whole grows brighter and brighter and brighter.
And so this concept of the soul family, or the soul becoming more wealthy, I like that term you used, I think, in Walking Energy, these very wealthy souls.
Mm-hmm.
I never thought of that, but really energy is
Wealth.
wealth. And everything that you look around here is related to the sun.
Correct.
It's been converted into something that we use to measure in terms of value. But energy allows you to do more things
Mhm.
in the universe and experience and grow as well.
Mhm.
So how do you become more wealthy in the universe?
Knowledge, experience.
So knowledge is wealth?
Knowledge is currency. Experience is wealth.
So there's no substitute for swinging the axe.
Correct.
You can't hire someone to do that for you.
Nope.
So these multidimensional beings that you've talked about, they've earned their wealth.
Absolutely.
And with that, they probably, like very smart people here on Earth, believe that they're probably better than most and they can probably do things and therefore they have more rights.
Correct.
And that they will take your rights away because you're not smart as they.
Correct. And you have no way to comprehend how deep their game goes.
Because they're so brilliant that you don't even realize what's going on.
Right.
But thankfully, as you've shared, there are some referees and the Prime Creator wants to maintain the balance, and so when they start breaking the rules, and the Prime Creator is aware of it,
Mm-hmm. They get ejected from the game.
They get ejected, timeout, and then potentially recycled. Right.
Or walk-ins taken over.
But the multidimensional being, how would they have a walk-in? I mean, their consciousness, how does that work?
That's the crazy part. When you make a sovereign free will version of yourself, there are limitations to your overmind consciousness. So you can put a walk-in in who's a psychic, who can understand, well, back it up a second. The multidimensional beings have other species that are part of the defense in quarantine here that use high-powered computers, the highest artificial intelligence of one vessel, which would be enough to predict. I mean, it's hard, it's indescribable how powerful that artificial intelligence. It would take 20 the best Pleiadian artificial intelligences to understand one multidimensional being as a bar graph to create the data.
That's a lot
That's
of smarts.
how much it is. When we try to look at them, they're not even a being. The walk-in can come in and hold all the contracts, and basically he's just covering all the bases of what the being looks for on his checklist.
So these avatars aren't going to operate from this multidimensional being's direction, so to speak.
Right.
So as much as they want to go left, it goes right.
Correct.
And so they're like trying to go this direction, they're getting pushed this direction.
Mm-hmm.
And so once things are out of harm's way, then they're free to roam, so to speak.
Back again.
And so the question I think you asked before is does service to self qualify for, extraordinary abilities? So granted you broke the rules, but it's kind of like Star Trek with Captain Kirk where he changed the rules.
Yeah, in the Kobayashi Maru.
Right.
He changed the rules.
Like,
he still won.
Right, he changed
He
the rules.
still won, but there was nothing that said that you can't break the rules.
So somewhat of a metaphor for the multidimensional being.
Exactly.
Kind of a paradox.
We're in a free-willed universe.
So
rules are meant to be broken in a free-willed universe.
Or no one told you they could be broken.
Until you use their free will to break them.
Or you asked, can I break the rules?
Yeah. Exactly.
If not said, then interesting. So back to the soul group. And you talked about them being 1, 2, are they generally in multiples of doubles?
No, you can have souls that would leave it and give it at odd numbers. So there's no individual math that's for soul family. Though some groups use 3s, 9s, but that's the theme that they go. They come in pods.
I think I've heard
Yeah.
the group of 9, a channel from the group of 9. So one soul.
And that would be a soul group. That would be a telepathic communication group that's using psychic technology to maintain a stream contact with an individual. I do group communications like that. I just don't present it in that type of format.
Mm-hmm. So you talked about earlier that what we're trying to do is bring these soul families back together, and that when they came into the incarnation grade, they were divided up purposely so that they wouldn't become a cohesive, powerful group, and that as a result, they've been blocked. Well, as a result, they haven't been able to really move forward, and then they've also been blocked as a group from graduating.
Correct.
And moving off and then using that energy and wisdom to go do more things.
Correct.
Have we become more powerful even though we've been stuck here, gathered more knowledge and wisdom, or have we been stunted?
I'll use a metaphor. A baseball metaphor.
Mm-hmm.
You have a bullpen, and that's all your pitchers. And if you know you're going to be going against 2 left-handed batters, and you've got 2 pitchers that can throw okay to left-handed batters, You pull those guys out instead of the ones that can't pitch. So the metaphor, I mean, I guess it's
So we're not stunted, just we learn something different.
right.
So ultimately, everyone that's been in the incarnation grid, this is a very unique experience.
Yes.
And so that in itself has a wisdom that's
Uncomparable unless you're in it.
of the whole creation. So you could argue that wisdom is quite valuable,
Correct.
even though we've been grumpy about it.
Yeah,
We
there are
have
others
learned.
that look at us as lotto winners.
Like we got to be in the most ultimate game,
Mm-hmm.
and that we didn't expect it, but we won the lottery, right?
Mhm.
In terms
Won
of
the lottery.
wealth.
Yep. In terms of soul wealth.
So earlier you also talked about that we're bringing these soul families together, hence what you're trying to do, and creating events. How do soul families come together? I mean, if there's
They naturally come together. I mean, when you make contracts, if there were no, let's say if there were no system of domination and control in the disunity world we had right now,
right.
it's just say it got turned off, soul family would just naturally migrate to each other.
Mm-hmm.
It's just natural. That's the way we're meant to be on this world. Like you have a vine that's got grapes on it, and each has got a bunch of grapes. They all naturally, and you have a separate vine and a separate and a separate. Each one's the line. They all line up to the pods that they're supposed to be in.
So everything's connected.
Yes.
So
Through the sentience of Earth, through your dream time, and that's how you all just know where to go.
so you don't get steered off path.
Correct.
So theoretically, if you're a soul group of 8 and you have 8 avatars, would you have 8 avatars on Earth incarnated, or would you only have?
Most people come with one avatar on Earth, and several dozen pieces, parts off-world, and maybe a few avatars off-world.
So if
But there's always a central avatar. And the central avatar at times can divide all its sentience equally among all sovereign pieces or sovereign avatars. And when he does that, he or she becomes a hive mind and can have even more pieces, parts with contracts feeding the hive mind, which is feeding the all as the higher self.
But here on Earth, if we had, I was part of a group of 8, for example, then I would assume that there are 8 incarnated humans here on this planet.
Mm-hmm.
And that the goal in this particular existence would be for us to physically know each other, come in contact.
To have contract resolution between you. First grade teacher, first lover, love of your life. Yeah, they're there to fulfill an experience.
We've agreed to come and help each other.
Fulfill
You
experiences.
could be my angry wife,
Yep.
you could be my really nice uncle, and so on.
Crappy boss. Whatever.
Crappy boss, right? It's really going to teach me. So as we move into this event, and after that, will these people reunite?
Yes.
And will they? And so, do they need to physically be in proximity to each other? Like, do I have to go
Some will meet in dream time. Oh my God, where have you been? I haven't seen you forever.
in dream time, but not physically?
And then the dream will end, and they'll wake up, and they'll meet them the next day.
So they're all going to come together.
Correct.
So I'm just going to say this a couple of times because it seems important that if there were 8 in my group and those people were in ages that still ranged that they were physically alive, whether they were 5 or 81, that we would come together eventually in coexistence in our community, like in a drum circle or a school or...
Synchronicity would bring you together and allow, the earth will allow the separations of densities and soul families to function through synchronicity. Unquestionable magic in front of you.
That's exciting.
Yes. We've seen it here at the event.
We have, but I guess I'm not
Yeah.
trusting it just yet.
Exactly. So
I'm
it
like-
happens to you 35 times in a week. At that point, you can't deny it.
Yeah. I guess it's kind of like the word soul family is used so loosely.
Exactly.
Like twin flame, you know,
Mhm.
after like, whatever, it's soul family, like we're all family, right?
Mhm.
But to say that there are 8 beings that have done this incarnation things, and you'd assume, well, maybe they're my family. Well, there's maybe one person in my family that's on that team.
Correct.
And coming together so we all consciously know that we're a soul family, and that we're now graduating.
Correct.
That, I mean, and we all know we're graduating, and then would we be helping each other
Yes.
in that final step?
Yes.
And that would be making sure that we all created these dream realities and
For our
dream us
ancestors.
together.
Or for your ancestors.
And what does that mean for our ancestors?
If you decided to make a soul family lineage that would take on after you decided to leave.
Oh, I see. Okay, in terms of
Okay.
the next phase.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, that's been 25 minutes,
Okay.
and we probably need to like ponder that. I know I do. It's been just rich, very rich. Thank you, Andrew. I'm David Waterfall, and I'm with Andrew Bartzis, and we are talking about real things that affect you, real people, and about how we're going to move forward in creating a new reality for Earth. So thank you.
Thank you.